If your business feels stuck, it's not because you're lazy, untalented, or haven't found the right hacks. It's because your path forward is vague to your customers and maybe even to you. Most creators trying to scale are spinning their wheels because they can't answer three simple questions. Who exactly do I help? What objective, measurable transformation do I deliver? And what specific steps does someone need to take in order to get from point A to point B? But here's what I discovered after building million-dollar platforms for companies like Google and helping creators like Callaway hit six-figure months in profit. There's a proven system that solves this once and for all. And it's not another surface-level strategy, but a simple checklist that unlocks predictable growth, scalable systems, and lets you offload your expertise into AI agents that can do it without you. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how this works, why it scales even in the tiniest of niches, and how you can build it this week. So the first thing to understand is that the reason that most creators fail to scale is because their businesses are structurally vague. They build hazy offers, post generic content, and cross their fingers hoping that it resonates with someone, but it doesn't. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about how business is just getting a person to take an action. And when you think about creator businesses, the ideal outcome is you press the publish button and see dollars immediately land in your bank account. But the path from push button to dollar in bank requires someone to walk through a series of steps. First, someone has to view your video, click into your site, give you their email, hit the pay button, keep paying you, and then maybe bring others. And so every single step or task along that journey is a decision moment. And if there's any bit of confusion at any step, they bounce. The one-liner in your bio, the CTA in your content, the domain name of your lead magnet, all of it matters. One moment of friction, one unclear next step, one vague promise, and they're gone. It's like a lock and key. A single missed pin and you won't unlock the door. And yet, most creators never take the time to map out this journey clearly. They don't audit every micro decision for clarity. And every moment of confusion along that path compounds. Everything becomes harder. Acquisition, conversion, retention, productization, scaling, everything. And I found that this is the main constraint that holds most creators back. But once you understand this, the solution becomes obvious. You need to get radically clear on the transformation you offer and the exact sequence of tasks required to get from point A to point B. That clarity becomes your content, your product, your funnel, your leverage model, everything. And as you'll see, it doesn't just unlock growth. It unlocks scalability, productization, and even lets you transfer your ability to do what you do best to AI. And it's all from one source, the checklist. So let's break that down. Most businesses stay small because they struggle with skill transfer. They might be world-class on a given topic, but when forced to articulate exactly how it is that they do what they do, they fall short. They'll give vague advice like provide value, build trust, write a hook that creates a curiosity gap. But what do you do with that information? It's too vague to know what to do. And vague advice like provide value isn't going to help them. And so your job is to give them a checklist that helps them get unstuck. Because if they don't know exactly where they're going and how to get there, they won't move. They'll stay stuck and overwhelmed consuming content, but never implementing anything. And so this is where the checklist changes everything. When someone can see every step from where they are to where they want to be in hyper-specific detail, there's a clear through line between how this 15-minute task will get me to where I want to go. And this kind of granularity is exactly what the brain needs in order to release dopamine and get the person to move forward. Completing a small, hyper-specific 15-minute task will trigger even more dopamine than the anticipation of the path ahead. So when someone finishes the small task, their brain rewards them. That reward makes them want to complete the next task. And this creates a momentum loop that builds on itself. But this only works if the tasks are clear, specific, and achievable. This is why small 15-minute tasks outperform big, ambitious goals. A completed 15-minute task gives you the neurochemical reward that you need to take the next action. An incomplete 3-hour task just builds resistance. And so once you understand the psychology, the structure becomes obvious. Your checklist needs 4 layers to create real transformation. The first layer is your core transformation. This is the clear outcome your business promises to deliver. It must be tangible, specific, and worth paying for. Things like get 100,000 views with short-form video, or generate 3 to 5 sales calls per week without paid ads. You need a specific, measurable result that is a binary yes and no. If there's not a definitive point along your customer journey where you can point at and objectively say, the transformation has been completed, you're not specific enough. Grow your business? Not specific. Get better at content? Not specific. 100,000 views? Specific. 5 sales calls per week? Specific. You can look at data and give a yes, no, pass, fail. All right, so that's the first layer. The second layer are your core tasks. These are the 5 to 9 high-level steps required to achieve the transformation. They are the backbone of your product or service. To get 100,000 short-form views, you need to dial in your positioning, generate ideas, script videos, record them, edit them, post them, analyze them, and do that again and again, improving by 1% each time. Those are 7 clear steps from zero to outcome. And you want roughly 5 to 9 steps because that's roughly how many items that a person can hold in working memory. More than that creates overwhelm and is harder to recall. Fewer than that feels incomplete, and each individual task will feel heavier. So this 5 to 9 range hits the sweet spot for comprehensive yet manageable. Now, your third layer are your subtasks. These are the atomic units. These are the 5 to 9 core tasks broken down into 15-minute actions. Things like write a 500-word sales email, record 3 takes of your short-form script. The more specific the subtask, the more likely someone is to actually complete it. Now, the first 3 layers, the core transformation, the 5 to 9 core tasks, and the 15-minute subtasks nested beneath, are all about accomplishing the how. These are the hyper-specific details on how you actually get something done. But this is where most creators stop short. They give you a list of things to do, but not explanations behind why the items are on the checklist to begin with. But understanding why something works is what creates true leverage. When you teach the principles, people can solve problems on their own. This is giving someone the fish versus teaching them to fish. And when they can fish on their own, this builds massive trust. So when you have both the checklist and the principles, everything changes. Your customers can adapt when the context shifts. They can innovate beyond your examples, which means that they can achieve the transformations more reliably and more efficiently with or without you. And what's more is once you have this complete system, everything becomes easier and more scalable. Your content writes itself, your products design themselves, and your customers succeed predictably. And not just in products and services, this becomes the seed for software. That's where we're going next. But before I show you how, let me explain why this matters now more than ever. Traditional business models force you to choose high-touch service with no scale, or scaled products without personalization. This leads to agencies burning out, trying to deliver custom work, course and community creators racing to the bottom on price, and coaches and consultants trading their time for money until they hit a ceiling. And everyone is stuck in the same trap, trying to scale expertise without losing quality. But what if the problem isn't the model and it's the underlying assumption? What I found is that expertise isn't complex. It's just poorly organized. A lot of wisdom and knowledge is just implicit, and there needs to be a deliberate effort to make it explicit. So when you break down any transformation, you realize that it really is just a series of micro decisions and actions sequenced in the right order. And when you reliably repeat those actions, you end up getting crazy results. And so once you see expertise in this way, everything changes. Think about what makes each business model different. It's not the outcome, that stays the same. It's not the process, those are the same steps. The only difference is who executes the checklist and how. This is the unlock. Every delivery model is just a different way of executing the same checklist. Because the transformation is constant, the checklist is constant. The delivery mechanism is the variable. Once you internalize this, you can build multiple revenue streams from one core asset. So let me show you how it plays out in practice. On one end of the spectrum, you have do it yourself. You give people a checklist and they follow it on their own. This is max leverage, minimal touch. But the thing that people get wrong about DIY is that they think it's about dumping information, but it's not. It's about organizing information so clearly that it is impossible to not achieve the outcome. And again, since business is about getting a person to take an action, the reason why so many do-it-yourself products don't actually deliver on the transformation is because they don't understand that it's about getting the person to do the action. So they give them the exact step-by-step roadmap and expect them to come out the other side with a success. The problem is, along every single step, what you'll find is there's friction, whether something's confusing or hard to do. And so a lot of products might get to the 15-minute subtask layer, but they miss the underlying principles to help people understand why they're doing what they're doing. When people understand why, they're more likely to act. They're more likely to get themselves unstuck. And so not only do you need the IKEA instructions for transformation, you need to tell them why each piece is in the box to begin with. An example is you sell a Notion doc with your exact 7-step YouTube funnel. Each step links to a template, examples, and SOPs. Customers will implement this independently, and ideally you've done enough legwork to give them the exact tasks and the principles to help them accomplish the outcome without you. And then this just scales infinitely. So that's do it yourself. You take your core asset, your checklist, and just hand it to the market. On the other end of the spectrum, you have done for you. This is where you complete the checklist on their behalf. This is a traditional service business. Here's where you can charge the highest prices, but it has the lowest leverage. And here's the key insight. Even done for you becomes scalable when you have a clear checklist, because now you can hire and train others to execute. You can build systems and templates. You can scope work precisely. The checklist transforms a custom service into a productized delivery. An example of this is if your team delivers short-form content weekly. They follow your exact checklist from ideation to publication. And you can scale this through team, not time. So that's both ends of the spectrum. You get your checklist, you just hand it to the market, or you take your checklist and you do it for them. But there's also an option in the middle where you do a little bit of both. This is known as done with you. This is where you guide someone through the checklist together. This is the sweet spot for most creators and what I suggest you do. If you target small to medium-sized businesses, those businesses don't actually want to outsource a core capability. They don't want you to do it for them and keep the expertise. They want to build the capability themselves. But in order to do that, they need accountability, feedback, and course correction along the way. And so this model gives them all three without burning you out. You're not responsible for execution, just guidance. And here, you're not trading your time for dollars, you're facilitating transformation at scale. You can do this with weekly group calls where you review everyone's progress. They do the work, you provide the expertise. And depending on your buyer persona, your baseline price can be $1,000 a month and scale as you build leverage. You can scale to about 50 to 100 clients without additional overhead. And this is exactly what I help creators do. So if you're interested, check out the links in the description. All right, so that's the spectrum, from do it yourself to done for you to do it with you in the middle. But what I didn't mention is that every single subtask in our checklist doesn't need to be executed by a human. You can delegate or automate any of them with code or AI. This is fundamentally what software as a service, or SaaS, is. It's basically a done for you or done with you service where code automates a percentage of the tasks. And you can either keep those automations for your internal processes and just charge high-ticket service prices, or you can bake those automations into a user interface and sell it directly to the market as a software. This is the future, and it's available right now. Here's what's changed. AI can now handle complex, nuanced transformations that used to require human judgment. But, and this is critical, only if you tell it exactly what to do and why. Because vague instructions will create vague outputs, but clear checklists create consistent results. And so think about what a subtask really is. It's a transformation with a defined input and output. Take this raw transcript and turn it into 3 hooks. Take this audience description and generate 30 content ideas. These aren't creative challenges anymore. They're prompts waiting to be wrapped up in code. And here's what's crazy. You can build this today, not in months, not in years, today. Tools like Replit, Lovable, and Cursor have eliminated technical barriers. You no longer need to know how to code. You just need to know what the code should do. And if you have a clear checklist, this is a solved problem. So let me show you how this works. Step 1 would be to take one subtask from your checklist and all the principles associated with it and dump it into an AI chat. Step 2 would be to ask the AI how to automate. If you want to avoid code entirely, you can use no-code tools like Zapier, Make, and 8N. But as a reminder, you don't need to know how to code. You just ask it, give me the code, and then you plug it into a tool like Replit or Cursor. Step 3 would be to take that code or the instructions to build that no-code automation and plug it into your tool of choice. For most people, I recommend just copy-pasting the code directly into Replit. If you know how to use Google Docs, you'll know how to use Replit. It's basically just a Google Doc with a play button that if you hit play and it has functional code written in it, it'll automate any task you ask it. Otherwise, you can learn the other no-code automation tools, but they're functionally identical. And if you really want to nerd out, dive deep into the Cursor rabbit hole. Again, this is more of a Word doc with an AI coding tutor in the sidebar. You'll have to take a few more steps to get this live on the internet, but it takes less than 5 minutes. Ultimately, none of the approaches that you take matter because AI will be doing this work for you. The next step is to just hit the play button, run the code, run the automation, and see what comes out. Because you have the expertise, you should know what's good versus what's bad. Then you just refine and refine and refine until you get the output that you're looking for. Once you get the output, now you've automated that subtask. You can take a bunch of other subtasks along your checklist and chain them together and use it internally to automate a lot of the service delivery you do, or you can wrap it up in a clean web application that you can sell directly to the market or give free lifetime access to your consulting clients. Now you have a fully hands-off automated transformation mechanism. And you can use it in an agency, you can use it with consulting clients, you can sell it directly to people. The options are endless. This is exactly what a creator I work with, Callaway, did with short-form video. He's been able to dial in his checklist for writing scripts, which became AI prompts that is now wrapped up in UI and being sold as sandcastles.ai. These are products that scale infinitely. Here's the paradigm shift. In the old world, software was separate from expertise. You were either a course creator, a consultant, or a SaaS founder. In the AI world, they're all the same thing. Your expertise is the software. Your checklist is the code base. Your insights are the algorithms. And we're not going to be replacing human expertise. This is about amplifying it infinitely. Your done-for-you service battle tests your checklists in the real world. Done-with-you offer helps you productize it so that others can replicate it. And the do-it-yourself offer validates that other people can do it without you. And if other people can do it without you, AI can do it without you, which enables software to productize your insights forever. Each level of leverage builds on the last. So you're not choosing between models anymore. You're building an ecosystem where each piece strengthens the whole. And it all flows from one source, the checklist. Once you see business this way, you can't unsee it. Your content strategy becomes obvious. Your funnel practically builds itself. And your positioning writes itself. So let's talk about that next. Once your checklist is built, everything else gets easy because you're not just guessing anymore. Every piece of content becomes a demonstration of your expertise against the checklist. Every touch point reinforces your checklist. Every interaction moves someone further along your checklist. Let me show you how it works. Social media platforms all give you a bio. And ideally, this is the one-liner that a stranger can read and immediately understand what you deliver. Now, without your checklist, positioning this one-liner becomes guesswork. I help creators grow means nothing. Empowering entrepreneurs means less than nothing. With a checklist, you have a very clear formula. It goes like this. I help a person achieve core transformation using checklist name. For example, I help marketing agencies generate leads with short-form content using the signal system. Notice what's happening here. You're not just claiming expertise, you're claiming ownership of a specific methodology. This does three things psychologically. First, it's easy to pattern match. People can instantly read these words and understand who exactly it's for. Second, it creates intrigue. What's the system? And third, it establishes authority. You've codified the solution into a black box that they want. It's clear, it's a less cognitive load, and it's more magnetic pull. So that's just the one-liner in your bio or how you introduce yourself to people. And that's just positioning. Your funnel also just becomes one continuous story. Here's where a lot of funnels break. They feel like separate conversations stitched together. Watch a video about one thing, download a lead magnet about another, get pitched something else entirely. This adds a lot of confusion and friction at each step of the process. And friction kills conversions. But when everything flows straight from your checklist, your content teaches step 3 of the process, your CTA promises the complete system, your lead magnet promises a walkthrough of the full checklist or a piece of it, your emails go deeper on implementation, and your offer helps them execute. It's one cohesive story told across multiple touchpoints. And when one step naturally leads to the next, you have momentum, and momentum drives action. Lastly, your content becomes self-evident. Without a checklist, you're constantly asking, what should I post? With a checklist, the question becomes, which subtask do I demonstrate today? Add the principles behind each, and that's 70 pieces. With different formats, that's 140. With case studies and examples, 280. Before and after comparisons, 560. You've got multiple years of content from one checklist. And here's the key. It's not repetitive because each piece adds depth. On Monday, you show subtask 3B in action. On Tuesday, you explain the psychology behind why it works. On Wednesday, you cover the common mistakes people make. And on Thursday, you have a case study of someone crushing it. And on Friday, you can cover a tool that you custom made that makes the whole thing easier. It's the same core transformation with infinite angles. Now, I also want to make a quick note about CTAs and lead magnets. A lot of calls to action and a lot of lead magnets are weak because they're vague. Join my newsletter for what? Book a call to discuss what? Check out my course about what? But when you have a checklist, it becomes, get the exact 7-step system I use to help YouTubers monetize with AI. Or download the checklist that's generated $2.8 million for my clients. Or see this 15-minute task that transformed content into revenue. These CTAs work because they promise a specific value, not another commitment, not more noise. Clear path to a specific outcome. And here's why this approach outperforms everything else. Humans crave completion. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks create cognitive tension. When someone sees your checklist but doesn't have it, their brain wants to close that loop. And when they have it but they haven't implemented it, the same thing. And this tension drives action better than any copywriting trick, but only if the checklist feels achievable. If you have too many steps, it's overwhelm. If it's too vague, there's confusion. But if it's just right, there's irresistible forward motion. And so when all your content flows from one checklist, something magical happens. You stop being seen as a person with tips. You become someone with a system. Tips are a commodity. Systems are proprietary. Tips are forgotten. Systems get implemented. Tips might get likes, but systems get purchased. And this is how you build a business that scales, not by saying more things, but by saying one thing with incredible depth and clarity. Your checklist becomes your intellectual property, and your content becomes proof that it works. Your funnel becomes the path to access it, and your business growth becomes inevitable. And here's what most people miss. When everything reinforces the same transformation, your marketing compounds. Someone might see your content 50 times before taking action. If those 50 pieces are random, they're still a stranger. But if those 50 pieces all demonstrate different aspects of the same core checklist, by touch 50, they're basically pre-sold. They know your methodology, they know your process, they've seen the results. The only question that remains is when, not if. This is how small creators build big businesses, not through reach, but through depth. And speaking of building big businesses in small niches, let's talk about why this scales. Most creators think they need to go broad to hit $1 million a year. More followers, more reach, more products, more content. But that's old math based on old models. Let me show you the new math and why it changes everything. Going broad doesn't make a business easier, it makes it harder. And this is because broad markets have broad problems. Broad problems require broad solutions. And broad solutions create vague marketing. And vague marketing converts nobody. Think about it. I Help Entrepreneurs Grow competes with 10,000 other creators. But I help SaaS founders scale from 10K to 100K in MRR using the product-led growth playbook. That statement competes with maybe 5. Less competition means higher prices, better retention, faster growth. And so the paradox here is the narrower you go, the bigger you can build. And so traditional thinking says you need thousands of customers, but if you're selling a scaled consulting offer like the one I help creators implement, where you can charge about $1,000 a month, all you need is 84 clients for $1 million business. Not 8,400, not 840, just 84 people saying yes to a transformation. Now, I've done the math on this, and it turns out that you only need about 75,000 people in the entire world that fit your buyer persona for you to build a pretty big business. Not 75,000 people that you need to convert, but 75,000 people that exist, period. And that's if you have a really bad product with poor retention. If you have good retention, that market becomes 5,000. Meaning, you only need 5,000 people in the entire world that exist and want the transformation that you offer to build a business that can go to $1 million a year and beyond. 5,000 people. And again, you don't need to convert them. They just need to exist. And when you think about it from that frame, you realize that any niche can build $1 million business. And now here's where clarity becomes your superpower. People don't churn when they know exactly where they are and where they're going. When someone gets stuck in a vague program, they blame themselves and they quit quietly. But when someone gets stuck with your checklist, they know that they're on step 4, subtask B, and they're having trouble with X, which you answer with Y principle. Specific problem, specific solution. So the creator economy is splitting into 2. Mass market creators competing on volume and dying on price, and specialist creators competing on clarity and winning on value. The tools now exist to build $1 million business from your laptop, but only if you have something that's worth scaling. And a clear checklist with a specific transformation is worth scaling. Everything else is just noise. All right, so let me bring this full circle. Your business is stuck not because of your skills, audience, or effort. It's stuck because it's structurally vague. But now you have the blueprint to fix it. Build a clear checklist that takes on one specific person through one specific transformation. Layer in the principles that explain why each step works. Package it within your best fit delivery mechanism, whether it's do it yourself, done for you, software, or a combination of all 3. Let the checklist drive your content, funnel, and positioning, and focus on a tiny market and dominate it completely. So as promised, this isn't surface level strategy. Here's what I want you to do right now. First, identify your transformation. What specific, measurable outcome can you promise? Don't focus on a persona or avatar description. Those are useless. What you want is a specific URL to a specific person that you've helped in the past or want to help, and have that top of mind. You literally want a URL of somebody that already exists and create your checklist around what would be valuable to them specifically. Then for your specific measurable transformation, you want a how many by when. This gives you an objective measuring stick to identify whether or not you've succeeded with the transformation that you've promised. And the date is important because it helps you identify what needs to be true within that time period for that outcome to occur. And so once you have your core transformation defined, the second thing is to map out your checklist. What are the 5 to 9 core tasks someone would need to take in order to get from 0 to that outcome? And then what are the 15-minute subtasks that are nested beneath each one of those? Lastly, you want to choose your starting model. Now, this will depend on how much leverage you currently have. If you have a massive audience, you have the luxury of doing more scalable, hands-off approaches like do it yourself. If you don't, done for you will give you immediate revenue. And if you want to do a little bit of both, you can do a high-ticket done with you offer that's scalable. That's what I help out with, so check out the links in the description if you need help with that. But just pick one model and start. Now, if you want to see exactly how I've done this for other creators, I've built a complete system that diagnoses your creator business and gives you a step-by-step roadmap to $100,000 profit months. It'll analyze where you are now, where the gaps are, and exactly the checklist that you need to build. So go to the link in the description and check it out. You just answer a few questions about your business and get your personalized roadmap instantly. It's free, takes 5 minutes, and it'll show you exactly how to apply everything that we just covered. All right, so that's it for this one. Until next time, peace.